It's the 17th, I believe, October 17th. And I just think I'm gonna stop here and do a little walk around. I started bean harvest. You guys probably seen that on maybe my stuck video. I done a little voiceover there. And I guess I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get out and show you my combine a little and the head a little, and I guess then we'll start combining. But as you can see, these soybeans, we cut them right on the ground. The head runs right on the ground. There's a few pods from a drought. There's a few pods that are really low, but you'll never get them. You'll never get that low to the ground. You can see the bottom of that head has poly on it. And that poly helps it from, slide on the ground and slide over top this stuff here. And anyhow, I guess we're doing a pretty decent job. We got started yesterday late. Just thought I better walk out to these beans here and show you guys them. And let my GPS warm up in my combine a little. Oh, they're mid-thigh, these soybeans are. They're in 30-inch rows. There's a lot of pods on them. You can see like this one here. This one. These are 4-beaners. There's another 4-beaner. Another 4-beaner. A lot of 4-bean pods right here. And if I don't lose these are all there. The 4-bean pod. Here's another 4-bean pod. So far I'm liking these soybeans. This is a different number I've tried. Here's a little bit of popping open here at the top, in that top little cluster there. But when you get 4-bean pods on top of the plant right there, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this soybean yield in this field, and I don't think I'm going to get into saying what my yields are. Not that I'm embarrassed or whatever, but I don't want to end up being like a competition, because everyone's inputs are different, and land's different, and it's just hard to compare. But I'd say it's above average. For having a drought, I just can't believe it. It kind of really surprises me. Somebody littered. Picking up some trash. I'm gonna take that with me. Don't like trash in the fields. But a little bit more. I know some of you guys might not know how these combines work. The heads and stuff, but that head flexes, and it'll contour to the ground as you go over uneven terrain. I'll go over and kind of show you guys. It's kind of hard to show you for sure, but I'm gonna lift up this picks up, and maybe you see it kind of shimmy down the rest of that, but that picks up. There's actually a sensor. There's a sensor here. There's a sensor on the other end here. I think it's behind a shield, but you can't see it. And then, yeah, right there it hooks up. You can see this goes up and down. And then there's another sensor right there. And anyhow, those sensors, all three of them work it together to tell the combine how low to the ground the head is. And with that, the sensors on each end will actually make it so I can tip the head. See that head's going up, side's down. And it'll all be controlled automatically as I'm going through the field. So as I go through cricks and whatnot, that'll change and tip. And that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys. I know our older combine had the up and down, but it did not have the tilt. And this head's a 30-foot head, which I know isn't that big, but it's big enough for me. There's plenty. There's plenty different things going on to not have to worry about keeping your head out of the dirt. I know we used to combine forever with a flex head. Actually, we started out using a straight head, and that was really tough. It was small, like 20 foot, I think. And then we went to a 20-foot flex head, but then we didn't have the auto height or nothing on it, and it was all right, but it still was a little tough. Well, then we got our first 30-foot flex head, and it had the height, but it wasn't. We hooked it up to the combine and it wouldn't work. Well, come to find out that they use different sensors depending on the age or the year of the combine, and it had the wrong sensor on it. And so I bought the right sensor, got it adjusted, and man, it was nice. It was worth $100 and some for that sensor, and it only controlled the up and down. It didn't control the tilt. Now on this newer combine here, we had to change a sensor again on the other head. This is a newer head that we just got. We haven't used it yet actually till this year. So anyhow, we ran with our other head on this combine for a while, and it done the tilt and stuff, and it was really nice. And then this head I hooked it on 2 days ago to start soybeans here, and it didn't want to work right. So I'll come to find out, instead of just having different sensors for the age of the combine, sometimes they mount the sensors upside down. So then all I had to do, which is wrong with this head, was the sensor that I showed you guys right below there. I just had to flip the sensor upside down, and it's worked perfectly fine ever since. I just got started. The dew just went off this morning here, and that's why, you know, it's almost like 11 o'clock I think now or something. And that's why we're just getting started, because you can't combine soybeans very well when there's a dew and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of was my starting off with soybeans. I'll make a few videos. These are actually my soybeans. I made a video combining that corn field of corn over there, but it's one of them that got deleted on accident. Well, on purpose, but at the wrong time. I guess that's what I get for editing my videos at 2 o'clock in the morning when I get home from work. I should have just waited, but I knew in the morning I was going to be in a hurry to get that green card out, so anyhow, it is what it is. Oh well. Live and learn. At least we're not done with harvest yet. We'll get some more videos for you guys. Yeah, I got a bean field there, and I got a bean field straight ahead of me that I've got to do. You know, it's interesting. This field here, I'll show it to you guys. Well, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. It's an L-shaped field. It goes down here and it goes around that old field there. And that used to be grass, that soybean field right there. And anyhow, so there's a fence going along here, so I don't, these rows over here are short, and that used to be a field line. Well, I took this quarter here, and I made, so there's a field here and a field there, that's corn, and this is soybeans, and then next year I'll flip-flop them around. Well, that used to be another field a couple years ago before I started farming this. This was actually 4 fields through here, and I made it into 2. So there's an old field line over there ways a few rounds ago, and just from the field line this way, it has increased. That side compared to this side's 10 bushel better an acre than that side. And that's the weird thing with soybeans and farming ground and stuff. I honestly would have never known without my yield monitor working that it was up. I mean, I would eventually figured it out, but I just wouldn't have known. I just find that really interesting. My landlord did say that this field did have beans on it before, and that field didn't, which now obviously it's one big field, but there used to be a line there. And you know, I was figuring, you know, okay, there might be a little bit of a yield bump from you know, from having soybeans on it before, but I'm just having a really hard time thinking that there's a 10 bushel yield bump just from having soybeans on it before. So I'm really thinking about doing some soil samples on this side of the field compared to that side of the field. I want to know what was good on this side of the field. It just really has me intrigued, I guess. I've been thinking about it all night. You know, at first I thought, it's just a fluke. And then I kept going and kept doing the figures and stuff, and man, it was about 10 bushel to the acre better on this side. And you know, I'm happy with that. I'd been really disappointed if I started on the south side of the field and worked north, and got to the poorer beans then. But you know, I guess we'll see what happens. It'll be really interesting to see the actual difference on when it goes across the scale. I know the yield monitors and stuff aren't the most accurate things in the world, but I do calibrate mine almost on a daily basis, or at least check it. I've got the grain cart with the scale, so what I do, I dump a load and see how many pounds it is, and if it's off by very much, I go ahead and type in the weight on my thingy womper up here, my monitor, and then it calibrates itself, and it helps. I know the last 2 years on my corn, I've sold within 1% of what my combine showed that I had, and I think my combine was on the low side. So that's that, and you know, I've been happy with this combine and the yield monitor. It really helps going through the field, even if it's off just a little. It's really nice. I can hook this up to the computer, and that's the only reason I actually have my GPS in here. It's not hooked up for auto steer or nothing. I have in the past, but it just takes too much time for what it's worth. But anyhow, so I can take the card out of this, that big old card, put that card in my computer, and I can get a yield map. And I can look at that yield map and look at problem areas in a field, or look at high yielding areas in a field, and I can try to figure out why it's so good or why that spot is so bad. And I can take that data and GPS coordinates and go out to that field and pull soil samples, or in the future pull tissue health analysis out of those exact spots. And that's where the farming is heading with the more technology, and the higher the cost and the higher the input things get, the more people are going to have to get more bang out of every acre they farm. You know, 10-20 years ago, a guy could farm a quarter and 20 acres of it not produce, and that was just given. But now that quarter, you've got so much invested in that quarter, you got to make every acre pay to get the bill. I got off last night in the dark. I was going to have to jump over and get that one row. But anyhow, you know, everything has to pencil out, and if you start, you know, having part of a field do say 100 bushel and the other part of the field doing 150 bushel, you know, I'm always thinking, well, what happens if I could get the whole field to do 150 bushel? You know, whether it's a drainage problem, you know, whether it's you know, a fertility problem, you know, there's just lots of different problems, and a guy has to go through and try to figure that out, what's going on, to get the most return on investment. A lot of the old timers have a problem with looking at farming, as that's just what they do, and they don't do a lot of numbers or figures on it. And you know, the new generation of farmers that are coming up here, myself included, I run it more like a business. If it doesn't make financial sense to do something, I'm not going to do it. Like I said, I know old timers, some of them, they don't like to run numbers and stuff. And, you know, they've made it. But I think now everything's getting tight enough. When you're talking, you got profit margins of tens of dollars on an acre that cost you $200 to possibly up to $400 or $500 an acre to put in the ground, depending on what your crops and what your land rent and all that, you know, stuff is. You know, it's huge dollars we're talking about. And that's just kind of my food for thought on that. I know there's a lot more things that I want to talk about here, but I'm going to save some of them things for a different video and whatnot. But yeah, I've been happy. I think a few of you guys have been wondering about how my hailed on field's done and stuff, which I'll make some videos of some hailed on stuff too. I just hadn't had time yet to do that. I had some videos of combining some of my better corn, but obviously all that footage is lost. But we've got more corn to combine. I've got plenty of corn ahead of me to combine. We got quite a few custom acres left to do, and like I said, I probably won't be sharing their yields or nothing like that, because that's not my place, and I won't probably even share my own yields, just because I don't think it's quite right. But I'll tell you the difference. I guess on the hailed on corn, I'll tell you the hailed on corn that I've done so far has ranged from 32 bushel an acre is the lowest field average that I've done, up to about 50 was the highest that I've done so far on hailed on corn. The non-hailed on corn has been above the county average so far, by quite a bit. It's above our approved yields, our T yields for crop insurance, which is good. This corn and these soybeans and all these crops anymore, they're bred up so good, it blows my mind that we even had a crop this year. It just really blows my mind. You know, we didn't have rain for 7 weeks, and we went ahead and we're going to pull off a pretty decent crop. The prices are terrible still, but you know that we can't help that either. But you know, just the genetics on the corn and the soybeans have just improved drastically, and the farming practices have helped too. If you guys go back to my videos of when I was showing this spring where we no-tilled field, and then I walked over and went on and showed you a tilled field and stuff, I'll tell you right now, there's a 40 bushel yield difference to the advantage of the no-till on the no-tilled ground compared to that work ground that got that was all wet. And you know, some of that could have been some other farming practices, maybe a little bit different fertilizer was used, you know, and stuff, and you know, just a lot of different variances since it's different ground and the same person's not farming at all. But there's a 40 bushel yield difference. That's huge. I mean, that's on corn, you know, 40 bushel is, say, just say $3. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's paying your rent right there. So I think everyone needs to take a hard look at their inputs and try to get their inputs. You know, if they spend $10 and only make $1, you know, they might be better off spending $10 somewhere where they can make $8. And I'm not saying that no-till is always the way to go. I believe it is where I'm at. But you know, there's a lot of other things. We got seed treatments. Cheaping out on seed is another huge one that drives me nuts. I work pretty closely with my seed dealer. I actually help him a little bit out and stuff. And the people that sometimes want to cut corners on seed just amaze me. Because if you put poor quality seed that has less potential, say, than a higher quality seed, you're cutting your throat before you even get going. And that's something that I think is really important. You don't want to start the year off already cutting your throat. You need to give your fields all the potential that they can get. You know, if I would farm how some people farm, I'd always farm for a drought. You know, they're cutting fertilizer because it's dry and things like that. Well, you know, surprisingly enough, and you people can call me a liar if you want or not, I don't really care, but if you don't put the fertility out there, say even on a drought year, when a plant is starving for nutrients, short on fertilizer, it will use more water trying to scavenge or get more nutrients out of the ground. so it will actually waste the water. And I know where I'm at, water is very, very important. You want to save every little bit you can save, and that's just part of it. You know, just you got to give yourself a good start in the year. But yeah, you can tell this field was no-till. There's all the corn stalks on the ground. As you can tell, I got a beautiful stand. You know, it's cutting good. The ground's and the header's not bouncing. It bounces when I first start, when everything's cold, but once it warms up a little bit and the oil warms up and everything gets to working right, it runs nice and smooth along the ground. You can see that little dial down there where it's actually running. That's you know, up and down. Maybe you can see that little arm right down there somewhere. There's nothing to tell me how my tilt is. Here's my little picture on my combine. It'll show me if something goes wrong, if my feeder house quit or return, or my spinners quit spinning. It'll have a little picture back there of what quit working in a very loud, obnoxious beep. So that's kind of nifty. It shows me how much here I'm running through my return, which that's acceptable. There's my loss monitor right there. That's kind of about it. My yield monitor's up here, which actually I kind of peeked up at it a few times on the last video, and I couldn't see it anyhow. So there must be something with the camera and something with that monitor that makes it so you guys can't see what's on the screen, which is kind of weird. Kind of surprises me, but anyhow, we're gonna buzz over and dump the cart, dump onto the grain cart here, and I'm gonna call this a video a wrap. But that's the first round that you guys went with me to harvest today, and yeah, so everything, you know, I'm glad that some of you guys are thinking about me and the drought and the hail and stuff, but we'll be okay up here. I don't give up easily. I have a pretty good attitude about it. I know it sucks, but it's part of farming. You can't help the weather. You just gotta live with what you got and take it. You can always say it's gonna be better next year. And anyhow, we'll see, I guess. But I got that cart. I filled that cart last night. My brother is gone, so my dad's doing chores this morning, and he should be done here briefly with that, and then he's going to come down and go ahead and dump that grain cart, or dump the semi, because the semi's full. Then he's going to dump the grain cart, and then we're going to be off to the races. I'm going to jump out and show you guys a picture of my tank, and we'll go from there. But anyhow, there's what the soybeans look like. I need to clean this back window so you guys can see them better, but yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe for more. Please ask any questions if you want, and I'll try to get back to you.